What we heard today was that the legal operations group as a rising community understands that there's a need for more business rigor, if you will. There's certainly the business side, if you will, of the in-house counsel. So they're seeking something beyond just the core legal services and legal expertise and legal talent. We've heard obviously a lot about pricing and how to structure that differently. But, we also heard a lot about transparency and communication and managing expectations, understanding sort of the business intelligence. So what's going on inside the client? Law firms have a unique perspective on that, depending on the type of area of law that they work with their client on. So I think that we're starting to discover, certainly the conversation in there, no one really defined value succinctly. I mentioned it's tangible and intangible, and we just need to have more conversations, as much as that sounds, probably unattractive to a lot of people in our busy lives. The thing is, I realize that law firms and in-house counsel do realize they have to go on this journey together to define value, that just having things like value challenges or value-based billing prompted the discussion. But we're now entering a time where we need to get more and more specific. And while no one has the answers, there is a realization that we need to be seeking those answers together. Yeah, I use the term unsexy innovation because it's not what you typically think of. It's not what you're given all, the awards for and all that. As law firms begin to get more sophisticated in terms of their business skills and capabilities, and what I mean by that is understanding, sophisticated pricing models, understanding how do you actually dig into a client's business to understand their strategy. One of the things we heard of in there was teach us something about ourselves. This was the legal operations people. And that seems easy, but it's not. It's trying to understand what a company is doing in terms of its strategy, where the risks in the market are for it, where the opportunities are, and the specific challenges that it faces. And law firms historically haven't built up the capabilities to even do that for themselves, to understand their client's business, let alone have that dialogue with their clients to help them understand. And what we heard in there today is those clients that are able to do that are able to foster relationships and get more work, a more meaningful work, and have long-term relationships with these clients. So the smart law firms out there are starting to invest in the business side of the law firm, not just the legal side. And that doesn't have to be separate people. It could be business training for lawyers, and not like MBA training and all that, but helping them understand what a strategy is. How do you look at a company? How do you read a 10K or annual report and break that down into some chunks of knowledge that you can then better understand the client's business and maybe turn it around to some insight for the client? Yeah, well, I think and the contrast was brought up between professional service firms like the Big Four, the accounting firms and McKinsey and Bain and all that, and then law firms. One of the key differences you see there between law firms and those types of agencies and firms is that those firms, those professional service firms, are much more willing to actually involve their client in generating a solution. They don't go in and say, we got this. They go in and say, okay, what are the specific challenges? We hear the core problem, but let's learn a little bit more about it. What are you trying to achieve? I use a phrase, it's a common phrase out there outside of legal, the job to be done. What is the actual job to be done that you're trying to solve here for? I need to know that as a lawyer so I know my role, but also having a greater context will have a better ability to really sort of generate insights and overall solution. So I use the term co-generate because in order to do that, the client has to be willing to have a conversation. And everybody's extremely rushed, and the old habits in legal are pitch it over the fence to outside counsel and they're just going to take care of it. Well, you can't really co-generate anything if that's all you're doing. So, I think the onus, I know the onus is both on the client side and law firm side to actually have a dialogue around what problem are you actually trying to solve, and then co-generate the solution, or at least attempt to. Taking that time on the front end, we heard today, we've seen it in the data, bears out positive impacts downstream.